Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Mo Nawara in the Midwest, as we still await Nate Whitestar's return to us as he's coming back here in a few weeks. But we will continue along on a pretty nice Wednesday night slate here in the majors. As we always tell you, we are bringing you the afternoon or evening games to make sure we can get these videos out to you. So we will be running through a bunch of those, but a good amount of day games, as you might see on a Wednesday here and there. Want to make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page as well. Make sure you are following along with us as we continue to bring you these videos each and every weekday of this MLB regular season. And also head to thelines.com, where we have all that great written content for you on each of these baseball games, all the odds and trends that you need, as well as that great odds checker. Make sure you're shopping those lines correctly using thelines.com. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we're reading off here for these night games. Mo, I'm going to kick things off with that Mariners and Nationals. They are playing a game two, actually, in the afternoon there. You got Tommy Milone and Eric Fetty on the mound. The Mariners favored -120 in Washington, as you would expect. Pittsburgh and J.D. Brubaker are in Miami, taking on Pablo Lopez, -170 for the Fish at home. The Reds, Mike Minor taking on Luis Severino in New York, -320, huge favorites for the Yanks. The Phillies and Zach Wheeler taking on Ross Stripling and the Blue Jays, -115 for the Blue Jays at home. The Red Sox and Josh Winkowski taking on Shane McClanahan, -190 for the Rays in Tampa. We got Luis Giolito and Aaron Saval taking on each other in Cleveland there. The Guardians are actually slight dogs, -105. The Dodgers and Tony Gonzalez continues to pitch well against the Cardinals, and Adam Wainwright in St. Louis, big favorites for the Doyers there. The A's and Paul Blackburn taking on the Rangers, and John Gray, -190 for the Rangers at home. Orioles, Spencer Watkins taking on Justin Steele in Chicago. We'll probably try to pick on the Orioles once again in that Padres matchup in Colorado. Joe Musgrove on the mound for the Pods, big favorite against Chad Kuhl. And the final game on the slate here, pretty interesting one, as the Stros are in LA taking on Anaheim. Interesting because Shohei Ohtani's on the mound and he's taking on Christian Javier. Not interesting because we are going to be missing a lot of offense for the Angels, but we'll dive into that one for a brief minute as well. Let's kick things off with your favorite game here, Mo. I know you're looking at taking advantage of Spencer Watkins and picking on the Orioles in Chicago against Justin Steele. Total of 8 in that game. So what's your first angle that you're looking at here?
Yeah, Spencer Watkins, one of my favorite punching bags over the years. Tried to fade him last time. Came up empty. He's had like 3 good starts in a row. But I'm looking into his numbers and I'm not seeing much reason for him to be playing much better, to be honest. His fastball velocity is actually trending down a little bit. And all his ERA estimators are still over 5, except for he has a 4.7 FIP, which that's nothing to write home about in itself. Only change I can really find that he's made this year is he's added a cutter. It's maybe helping his fastball play up a little bit, but they both still have negative pitch values. The fastball just not as bad as it used to be. And then he still has like a 5.3 or whatever Sierra. I still think he's really bad. I don't even rate Justin Steele as high as some of the projections do. Some of the projections have him like around a 4 ERA. I think he's probably closer to 4.5, but even still, I think there's quite a bit of room to play the Cubs here. I got them at -125. There's been a ton of steam on them overnight, sitting around -140 right now. I still think that's okay because I had this closer to -160. So, yeah, I think unless Watkins is like actually decent now, which I don't think is true, this line it's still not high enough for me. But I'm really happy with the -125 I got. But I still think there's a little bit of room to play it, to be honest. I think the Orioles, I know they're just red hot and they're winning every game they play, but it's still just an okay team to me. And for the season, the Cubs still have a better offense than them. So think the Cubs are basically a little better across the board here, except for bullpen is probably pretty close.
Yeah, and it's not a good matchup for Watkins as well. He's just struggled to really even keep his balls in the zone, strike anybody out, get anybody swinging, get anybody missing. It's a lot what you need against a Cubs lineup that will be hacking occasionally, especially with some young guys I think will be in there today. But I think at the end of the day, as you mentioned, Spencer Watkins is an easy punching bag at times, and if you're going to take advantage of the O's, who, as you mentioned, continue to be red hot, but I think that there is some regression coming, and you can definitely feel comfortable starting with one of their worst pitchers on the mound who's as inconsistent as Watkins is. A guy who's not inconsistent, Joe Musgrove, is taking on Chad Kuhl in that Padres matchup in Colorado that we will look to take advantage of those Rockies once again with Joe Musgrove on the mound. Probably expect Kuhl to probably struggle a bit. There's going to be 5 lefties, I believe, in this lineup today batting for the Padres. That spells trouble for Kuhl. I think that's a good place to start in terms of why you would feel good about the Padres in this one.
Yeah, actually, this is a really, really interesting matchup. I was wondering about the under, and I was wondering about the Rockies, but I don't know if I can fire it. It's really on the border for me, to be honest. Musgrove's been amazing this year. That's part of why I like the under a little bit here. 32% called strike plus whiff, 86.6 exit velocity. I mean, he's just doing it all this year. And his peripherals validate like not a low 2s ERA, but right around 3. And yeah, the thing about Chad Kuhl, he's been just like pretty bad for most of his career, but he's kind of been a revelation this year. His ERA is around 4, and his peripherals aren't too much worse than that. 4.29 FIP. Sierra doesn't believe in him at all. That has like a 4.85, but StatCast does 4.28 xERA this year. And then what really struck me when I was looking into his numbers, he's been incredible in Coors this year. 277 WOBA allowed at home. That is just, I mean, in Coors, under any normal home park, that would be very, very good. In Coors, that is like off the charts good. 355 on the road. So he's actually been hammered on the road. And yeah, it's you definitely brought up a good point. He's always been terrible versus lefties, but then when I look at these lefties that the Pods have in there, Cronenworth is like the only decent hitter that they have. So the only thing is, though, the Rockies they ran out a brutal lineup yesterday. It was
what a wonderful under yesterday was, right?
Yeah, it was disgusting that we lost our Pods play yesterday because Crone sat. No Chris Bryant. I mean, they had Jose Iglesias batting second. That is just atrocious. And then bottom of the order was pretty scary. Jonathan Daza, Garrett Hampson, Sam Hilliard. These are all terrible hitters. I just don't think I can back this Rockies lineup. But if I somehow knew Crone was playing, I guess I would consider them around plus 150. But I just don't think I can do it. I'm also a little intrigued by 10.5, but that's so low in Coors in the summer.
I mean, yeah, that's like a Jets Bills total from a few years ago. But I can't take. I definitely can't take an over right now. I think we're leaning under, if anything. I mean, that line the total has dropped a bit since game 1 of this series, right? Started about 12.5, dropped a bit, 11.5 last night. We're down to about 11, 10.5, depending where you find it right now. Honestly, I hate to just be the weather guy part of it, but in part, it's been a lot cooler at Coors tonight. We're back to some pretty high temps and the ball potentially traveling a bit more. I'm not ready to make that prediction. Minus 175 for the Pods with such a big advantage on the mound seems reasonable. It's still a little bit long for me, not loving it as much, but this is a game where I don't know. Honestly, I've been hitting the unders in Coors. I might as well take one more tonight, especially because of how poor those lineups are. As you mentioned, Chris Bryant, once again, probably still out there on leave. So I think there's plenty of reason to feel better about that. I would feel better about the Pods, but I'm not sure if it's worth laying any money tonight on this one. So last one that I do want to talk to you about is that interesting matchup. I know we don't necessarily feel the strongest either way about Christian Javier and against Shohei Ohtani in Anaheim. Shohei obviously going to do his thing, but we, the news about Mike Trout maybe not playing as much at this point, obviously. So I think what are you looking at in this one? Is there any potential advantage that you can find here in this Angels and Astros matchup?
Man, yeah, sad days for Angels fans and Mike Trout fans, baseball fans. Mike Trout hurt again, back spasms this time. He came out of the game. I think it's less than 50-50 he's going to play in this one. His replacement would be Monty Harrison, who has a WRC plus of 80, so he's 20% worse than the average MLB hitter. Yeah, this lineup is starting to get really, really rough. Something called Michael Stefanich has been batting leadoff for the Angels. He's scorching the ball so far, small sample, but he had a 112 WRC plus in the Pacific Coast League. It's a high offense environment. He was just solid there with like basically no power. So that usually isn't going to play in the majors. You need lefties. This is another one where you need lefties versus Christian Javier. He's had big splits in his career, and the Angels have 5 of them, but it's same issue as Padres. Are any of these lefties any good? Ohtani is obviously great. Jared Walsh has been atrocious this year. Huge step back for him after the last 2 years. Luis Rengifo, he's replacement level. Jonathan VR, he's been a bench bat for years. Brandon Marsh, he's been god-awful since he came up as a pretty highly touted prospect. It's a pretty rough lineup, and then you see what Christian Javier did to them on July 1st. 7 innings, 1 run, 14 strikeouts, no walks. I mean, he just absolutely carved them to pieces. And of course, the only run, an Ohtani solo dinger in that one. So I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, as much as I love Ohtani, I'm a little interested in the Astros, but I'm also a little interested in the under here. It's so low, but if I could trust this Angels bullpen at all, but I just don't, and they got wrecked again last night. So no Yordan Alvarez for the Astros. Just basically, two of the 3 best hitters in this game under normal circumstances are out. So just two weaker than normal lineups, 2 tremendous pitchers. Not the hottest day either. Only 75 degrees there in LA. Little interested in under, but it's just so low. I don't know if I can hit it.
Were you saying you think the Astros relief, you don't trust it necessarily as much?
I think the Astros, that they have a pretty good
right.
Or actually, I don't trust the Angels. I said Astros, I misunderstood. The Angels are absolutely god awful, and Reisel's been terrible. He got wrecked again last night.
Yep,
not good there.
No, yeah, the Astros have basically the best xFIP in baseball over the last couple months, honestly, from their relievers specifically. So, yeah, one thing I know we like to look at with relievers, one huge advantage they have. I feel very comfortable pitching the Astros. I do think it's a misplaced line in a way. I think you see Shohei Ohtani out there and you're automatically going to get a little bit extra juice. But this lineup is brutal. I mean, I'm actually considering, I was looking up Christian Javier's strikeout prop tonight at 7.5, very high, plus 105. But do you think he can't go through this lineup and get 7 strikeouts? I mean, if you expect him to get through this lineup as easily as we do, the way he's getting swings and misses, really, it adds up to him not necessarily having to throw as many pitches. He's throwing his fastball and basically just it's basically just a fastball slider combo at this point, which is getting super weak contact. People are really, get a nice ground ball percentage as well. There's just not much that you'd like about the Angels lineup today that could even come close to touching, Javier and the way that he's been throwing lately as well. And as you mentioned, the way he handled them last time, he actually isn't even qualified right now for a number of stats because in terms of he's got like the 3rd highest strikeout to walk percentage here. I don't even think he's qualified though, with the amount of innings he's pitching. So, he's going to continue to get the ball for them, I think. And this is just one area where we're going to find plenty of value with a name like Shohei Ohtani against him. That's just getting way too much value when you look at, like you said, I can't name, I've never heard of the last 3 guys that'll be batting in that Angels lineup tonight. So that bodes well for those Stros. And that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.